Good morning or afternoon or whenever you're watching this. It is time for Tuesday Talks again. Thank you for joining me if you're here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, are your workouts aligning with your goals? So the workouts that you're taking the time to do, are they actually benefiting you? Are they actually creating the change that you want in your body and your muscles and your health? And how do you know if what you're choosing to do is helping? So obviously, I feel like for most of you watching this, we're busy. Okay, we're really, really busy. We want to be healthy. We want to be stronger. But the reality is we just don't have the time in our lives to go spend 2 hours hanging out at the gym, right? Doing random stuff that's not going to get us anywhere. Now, if you're a 20-year-old and you're watching this right now and you have 2 hours to hang out at the gym, that's amazing. And I'm jealous because I'm not in that stage of life. But I feel like most people that are here and watching this can relate to the fact that your time in the gym needs to be efficient and effective. Those two things, right? We don't have time to waste. We want to make sure that if we take the time out of our very, very busy schedules to go and work out, we want it to be effective and like as effective as possible. That's what I want. I don't want to be in there and taking this time out of you go early in the mornings. Like I woke up early, I'm dedicated to going. I want it to be doing something, right? And not doing anything. So, I feel like it would be like going to a job and working hours and not getting paid for it. And you're just, what am I doing? Why am I spending time doing this, right? So you just want to make sure that that's the truth. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, are the workouts that I'm doing aligning with my goals? And in order to know that, you have to kind of know and understand what your workouts are actually doing. I think one of the biggest things that people are falling into these days is because there are so many random influencers and people that are working out and showing things on Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. It's so easy for people to go, oh, I'm just going to do her move because I want to look like her. So she's doing this one move, I'm going to go do it. You have to be really, really careful with that. It's a really slippery slope because there are a lot of people on the different platforms that they either genetically are just built different and have a different body, or they're actually doing a lot of the correct things and have been for years to get the body they have. But the actual thing that they're promoting on their Instagram is not what got them that body. So being educated about what you're consuming and actually knowing, like, is this person just doing this because they have 1 million followers and people will believe them because they have a really, really good body, is not the same as following someone that actually has a degree, a certificate, proper training, proper follow-up training with all those different things. So just be a smart consumer, okay? Don't just take whatever it is and go, oh, that person looks great and they're doing this band kickback, so I'm gonna go do this band kickback and my glutes will look like theirs. You gotta dig deeper. You gotta do more research. What are they actually doing? Are they actually certified in what they do? Do they know what they're talking about? What else are they doing behind the scenes? Because they're probably not just doing those little banded kickbacks. They're probably doing heavy squats, heavy weights, and probably have been doing that and have their nutrition on point for years and years and years. And then you see them do this little banded kickback and they swear this is what got me these glutes. And then you go, okay, and then you start trying these without actually knowing and understanding what you're doing. Today, and so I see a lot of people in the gym doing very random things, and I don't know what their goals are. For most of these people, I don't know what their goals are, right? So it's based on your different goals. If your goal is to go in and build as much muscle as possible and make that time for building muscle, if that were the goals of these people, they are not going towards those goals. And so if I just assumed that that's what they were doing, then I would know, but I don't know. Maybe they have other goals. So here's an example. Today, just this morning in the gym, I saw a girl, she's probably in her 30s, maybe late 30s. And she was doing this move. She was actually doing a lot of different moves, which kind of is always a red flag to me when someone is just kind of picking up weights and just doing a lot of different stuff. It kind of is like, they don't quite know what they look like they're doing. Again, I don't know what her goals are, so I don't know, but she was, I'll demonstrate it. She had a very heavy weight. She was holding it up in the air like this, and she was standing on one leg, and then she was like kind of lowering and lifting this leg. Okay, so if her intention and if her goal is to create ankle stability in the leg that was down, maybe she has weak ankles and wants to create strength and stability and balance, help her balance out, that would be a good exercise, just because she's standing on one leg and she's forcing her ankle to really support her. And so she's strengthening all those little muscles that are around there. That's great. If she's doing that because she thinks these lifts of your leg with your weight up in the air is somehow giving her abs or giving her muscles in her abs, it's not at all. At all. That's not doing anything. And I'm not sure where the logic is coming from. I know that there's a lot of Instagram accounts that'll do these things where you're like lifting your legs and stuff like that. And that's all hip flexors, by the way. And then the heavy weight up, I'm not sure how that adds tension to her abs. But anyways, it's not going to do anything. So I just I never say anything to people because that's just obnoxious. Like, I don't know what her goals are. Maybe it is stability. And she'd be like, leave me alone. So I don't say anything. I don't know. If she would have asked me and said, hey, does this work my abs? Then I would have told her no. I mean, that's not where your abs are, where they're inserted, into your body. And that's not actually doing anything. So it's just, but I guarantee that if her goal was to get abs, she probably saw that move somewhere on social media, somewhere on Instagram, and she's in there and she's doing it, and she's not actually going to be seeing muscle. So another thing is when people, there's the obviously very famous move, and I actually haven't seen very many people do this lately, but when they're on the Stairmaster and they're going really slow on the Stairmaster, and then they're kicking their leg back like this as they step up. I'm assuming people think that that's shaping their glutes. I don't know, because you can feel your glute tighten when you do that. That's not actually building muscle. So let's get a little educated for a second. What builds your muscle? What makes your muscle grow? And that's called mechanical tension, okay? So you have to put enough mechanical tension on your muscle to force it to grow, to get it to the point where it can't do it anymore. And so it is forced to grow. And that's called failure, right? When you're going to failure. So what is failure? Let me explain what that is in case you don't know what that is. So failure means, let's say, what would be a good move for me let's talk about presses, military presses, okay? So failure would be, I'm doing my reps and I actually get to the point so that as they get harder, they're probably slowing down, which is great. That's just not because you're slowing them down, but because you can't go as fast because you're getting tired, right? And then as you get to the point where you literally cannot get the weights up anymore, there is nothing left that you can do, it will not go up. That is failure. So you have to and you don't need to go to failure every single time, but you need to know where your failure is, because if you're not pushing hard enough that you're at least 1 or 2 reps out from failure, you're not pushing your muscles hard enough to actually grow. So if you're not tracking how many you're doing and your weight and whatnot, you're not really going to know. You're just going to be in there doing the same move over and over and over again with the same reps and the same weight. And there, you like my little, you're not going to force your muscles to grow. They're not being forced to change at all because you're doing the same thing with the same weight. So you want to make sure that when you're doing certain exercises, you want to try to kind of stick with the same exercises. You don't want to be just doing random stuff all the time. So if a press is something that you're doing, then that is something that should be in your workouts for like at least 6 weeks, and you're tracking. And the goal is that you're getting stronger. That's how you're going to know if you're growing muscle. So are you getting stronger? Are you being able to do more reps? And I'm not talking about like a huge amount, but maybe like the first week you did 12, you did, let's say you did 3 sets. You did 12, 10, and 9 reps. The next week you did 12, 10, and 10 reps. You're getting stronger. You're adding, and it's slow, but that means your muscle is growing. You're having proof. So even if you can't physically see that your muscle is getting bigger, it is because you're growing in strength and your reps are getting better and you're being able to challenge yourself more. So that's the idea. And that whole system that I'm talking about is called progressive overload. And it's what I use with all my clients because it's the most efficient and effective way to grow muscle. And who doesn't want that? I don't know. If that's your goal, Now, there's other things too that I think have become quite popular that people think are growing muscle. Pilates, I know, is a really, really big thing. And Pilates is really great. I am not bashing Pilates. Pilates is really, really great for your body. It's especially great for your core because it actually does put a lot of mechanical tension on your core and it will really force it to grow. Now, as far as like leg muscles and arm muscles, it will help you become stronger, but you're not necessarily going to keep creating enough tension in there to get muscle to actually grow. So you're going to get stronger up to a point, and then you're going to kind of just plateau because it's just the same idea over and over again. You're not able to create like lift a heavier weight and track that you're squatting more and all that kind of stuff because it's just the moves that they're doing. So if you're a new person and you haven't worked out in forever and you're doing Pilates, it's great. I mean, it's great for mobility and flexibility, and a lot of physical therapists use it for different healing things. It's great. It's amazing. But again, you have to make sure it's aligned with your goals. If your goal is to actually grow muscle and get that, what everybody calls that toned look, right? You have to grow muscle in order to get that look. It has to grow. You can't just stay the same with it. So if you just want to feel like my core is supporting me more, my core is getting stronger, and my overall, just general body strength, I can support myself better, great. Pilates is amazing for that. If you actually want to see muscle growth and a more toned look, then you're going to need to push yourself outside of that and actually go into the progressive overload weightlifting. Another thing is that's very big right now is Orange Theory. And Orange Theory is great. It gets people in, it's a class atmosphere, so it's fun to do with your friends and get together, and it gets people moving, which is amazing. We need more of that. People need to move more. And so if that's what you're doing it for, just to move your body and get some great cardio in, amazing. It's great. It'll definitely, get your heart rate up like it's meant to do, get that cardio in, get you moving your body. Absolutely. If your goal is to grow muscle, that's not going to do it for you because, again, that's a lot of just different random moves. And you might see a little bit of muscle growth if you're brand new to working out, right? It's called newbie gains. And, when your muscles haven't really been doing anything for years or months and you start to use them, yeah, you're going to get some muscle for sure. That's, that's how it is in the very, very beginning. Boom, it just starts. But to progress anywhere outside of just those newbie gains and to actually gain muscle, it's not going to help you. And I know you're lifting weights and doing things, but you're doing random things. So I think really what I want you to make sure you're doing is aligning your expectations and your goals with your workouts, and know what you're doing. Be educated, be informed, and actually go, okay, if this is what I want, if this is the body I want, if this is the goal that I have, then I need to make sure that I'm not just wasting time and spinning my wheels and spending a ton of money on memberships, that aren't really aligning with what I want to do. And then we end up frustrated, right? And I will say, I have been there. I did that for years. I was doing all these workouts. I was totally burnt out. I was like really stressing my body out, and my body was not changing at all. And I just couldn't figure out, why do I work out so hard and I don't look like I work out? And it was so frustrating. And it wasn't until I actually hired a coach, a couple different coaches, to teach me about this progressive overload. And I started doing that, and I started seeing the change. I actually started doing less cardio because I was doing a lot. Cardio is not bad, but I was doing a lot of really hardcore cardio because I thought, that's what's gonna do it. And then of course I had to learn about nutrition and align my food and my nutrition with my goals. And essentially the two together are just the magic ticket. So, and now that I've gone through training and certification, and have my degree in biomechanics and all these things, now I totally get it. Now I understand why this progressive overload works, because I understand what the muscle is and what it takes to actually grow the muscle. So just don't waste your time anymore. Don't waste your time anymore. If you have any questions about whether your workout that you're doing is actually getting the body you want, just ask. There's, I love just chatting with people. There's no obligations, there's no anything. I am absolutely passionate about just getting women on the right track. And there's so much noise and so many myths about nutrition and working out going on, and it's so frustrating. And again, I know because I've been there. So just don't hesitate to reach out, even if you want to go, hey, this is the workout I do. Is this going to get me these results that I think it's getting me? And I can steer you in the right direction and go, yes, it is. No, it's not, and help out with that. So thanks for being here. I will see you at the next Tuesday Talks.